All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I wanted to really focus in on three realistic tackle options, either at left or right tackle, if the Jets want to make a move, right? Up to this point, what do we know so far? We know that tackle is probably the weakest position right now when looking at the offense. Wide receiver, tight end, running back, QB, and also on the interior, I feel like we're pretty good at. Tackle is just the one where it's like, it's still completely up in the air at this point in time. We don't know who the starters are going to be. We don't know who the backups are going to be. Granted, we do have, a couple nice players at those positions, but on both sides, but nothing is guaranteed as of right now. And also looking at the track record of injuries at this position for the Jets, these past, handful of seasons, it's been rough. It's been rough. We have to have a solid plan in place here. Number two, the defensive line, and granted, it is a fantastic, fantastic defensive line. They've been dominating essentially every single day in practice. I'm talking about multiple plays where it's just blown up immediately, right? The quarterback goes to hand off the football and Quinnen Williams is right there in the backfield blowing it up. Multiple sacks every single day. Guys are just ripping by tackles, ripping through this offensive line to get after the quarterback, get into the backfield. And it really seems like, the trend so far is that the defense has done really well. And we've talked a lot about that. It's not, earth-shattering news that the defense is further along than the offense, especially considering the amount of offensive changes that the Jets had, this offseason with Hackett and Rodgers and all these different guys. But at the same time, it's like if we're constantly losing one-on-one battles on the O-line, at tackle, it's hard to stomach, right? This is a position where I want to be rock solid at. I want to have full confidence in right and left tackle, right? Who's protecting Aaron Rodgers' blind side? These questions need to be answered. So we could also factor in that not everybody is practicing, right? Dwayne Brown hasn't had a single training camp practice. Mekhi Becton, the whole knee thing is up in the air. Obviously, didn't see that much time in the Hall of Fame game. Didn't get hurt, but more so a precautionary measure, had to step away from the game. But the point is, we just don't have a lot of reps here with the considered starting options at left tackle. And then at right tackle, it does seem like it's it's an open competition between Billy Turner and Max Mitchell. And I guess Becton, or the quote unquote loser of the LT job. But I think, again, we still don't have that definite starter. Like, yeah, he's our option, no questions asked. We could factor in Rodgers' recent quote where he said that he feels pretty good about the guys on the interior of the offensive line. He said there's obviously some competition for the tackles. Dwayne's not out there, which is going to make a difference for us. I don't know if we have a timetable on when we need everybody, but it would be nice to get everybody back at some point. In other words, like, to me, that's like, if we're not getting healthy, if things stay the way they are for another week or two, it's like, all right, hold on a second. Rodgers just took the $35 million pay cut, a ton riding on the season. Yeah, let's be safe rather than sorry on the offensive line. We have, and that's kind of another point here, we have more money to go out and make something happen. Whether it's signing a current free agent, whether it's maybe pulling off a trade, with the team that potentially has a tackle on the move. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into this list. The first player that I want to talk about here is James Hurst from the New Orleans Saints. This is somebody who I definitely want the New York Jets to inquire about. He's the definition of a swing tackle. He's played left tackle, left guard, and right tackle. Started 16 games for the Saints last season, and the year before that, started in 15. In fact, in the last 3 years, he started 36 games. So that's a lot of starts, a lot of snaps under his belt. He's a veteran. He entered the NFL back in 2014 with the Baltimore Ravens. Fun fact, Joe Douglas was actually a part of the Ravens during that time. Ended up leaving Baltimore in 2015. But James Hurst spent some time with Baltimore, ends up going over to the Saints, and again has been that reliable veteran swing tackle. Hey, coach, I can play right. Hey, I can play left tackle if you need me to. A lot of starts under his belt. Like I said, he's 31 years old. He's on an expiring contract, so it's not like, in the event that Hurst doesn't work out, or the Jets are looking at it more so like as a one-year option, one-year rental. That's exactly the contract that's in place. And the Saints' former first-round pick, Trevor Penning, is coming back from injury. So it begs the question, will Hurst be that guaranteed starter, or should the Saints, look at Hurst, expiring deal. Maybe we can flip him and acquire a draft pick or whatever the case may be. Maybe the Jets can move a player that might not make the 53 at a position that we're really deep in, and maybe it's a player-on-player trade, but typically in the NFL, we don't really see that a whole lot. So the point is this. James Hurst is a veteran. He's seen a lot of football. Joe Douglas does know him back, in 2014 here. He has a lot of experience playing multiple positions, and I don't think it's going to cost the Jets a whole lot to go out and get him. It's not like this, this major decision that the Saints are going to have to sit on for weeks on end. But this is somebody who, ideally I would like to get in the building sooner rather than later. Okay, so player number 2 here is right tackle from the Cincinnati Bengals, Lyle Collins. In fact, the Jets actually had some interest in Lyle once he became available from Dallas. Ultimately, the Jets didn't bring him in, and he opted to sign with the Cincinnati Bengals. But we're looking at the Bengals depth chart right now. They have Orlando Brown at left tackle. They have Jonah Williams, who is switching over to right tackle, and Lyle Collins. Now, Collins, obviously Jonah Williams was the starting LT, and Collins was the starting right tackle last season up until the point where he got hurt, torn ACL. We're going to talk about that in a second. But there's an odd man out, right? Of course, you would ideally love to have that backup swing tackle, but not for this price. Not for this price. The Bengals actually have $22 million invested in right tackle, not including Orlando Brown's massive contract. $22 million in the right tackle position as we stand right now. And I guess this one's a little interchangeable because you can say, all right, well, if Lyle Collins goes out and wins the job, then maybe it's Jonah Williams who could be on the move, who's actually formally requested a trade from the Bengals. So maybe there's something there, but it does seem like because that trade request was so long ago that Williams and the Bengals are kind of on the same page here. And because Collins is still working his way back from the ACL, maybe he could be a guy that gets moved. If the Bengals are looking at, their team saying, hey, we're win now, obviously, but it would be beneficial to us if we can trade Lyle. Maybe there's a starting opportunity with the Jets and we can clear some money. We can recoup a draft pick, whatever the case may be, whatever the compensation might be. I don't think it would be a lot. But either way, I love Lyle Collins. To me, though, it's just a question mark of the ACL. Do the Jets really want to dive into a position where it's like, all right, we're trading away an asset, and yeah, we're getting a really, really good tackle, a really productive tackle back on our end, who, in my opinion, should start if if a trade actually goes down. But he's coming back from the ACL, and granted, everything on that front is looking good. He's expected to make, a full recovery, no problem. But it's just like, one of the reasons why we're in this predicament right now is because of injuries. Do we really want to bring over another player that is dealing with an injury? So that's obviously the biggest question mark, and that's why I would prefer Hurst from New Orleans. But either way, if Joe Douglas is actually moving an asset to go out and get Collins, then it's like, all right, there's probably a method to the madness here. And last but not least, I know that this player has been considering retirement. It doesn't really seem like he's going to be playing this season, but it's more so like a one last ride type of thing. If the Jets can convince him, maybe it's something to inquire about. I just figured I'd throw him in at the end of the list because I think he would be super cheap and he's available right now. It's Taylor Lewan. Again, I think if Joe Douglas wants to hand out a cheap one-year contract that might be like fully guaranteed or something, that could be enough to lure Lewan out of retirement. And, of course, Lewan is not the same player that he once was, but in an emergency situation, it's like let's just hypothetically say Dwayne Brown misses another week in practice, another week and a half, another 2 weeks. It's like, all right, our starting left tackle is still not practicing. Will he be ready for the start of the regular season? Because there is, an onboarding process, whether you're a veteran or you're a rookie. So in the event that, let's say, Becton is still dealing with the knee a couple weeks from now, or we don't have those answers, maybe the Jets are looking at their their depth chart, and then B, their coaching staff, and saying, well, you know what? Todd Downing has worked with Taylor Lewan before. Keith Carter has worked with Taylor Lewan before. He's obviously been an absolute mauler in the running game. He presents great size. He has that edge. He has that aggressiveness. And naturally, like from a personality standpoint and an on-field standpoint. So for me, this is kind of like the last resort. A couple weeks goes by, we still have no answers whatsoever at tackle, and he's still out in the open market, and he's not looking for a lot of money, and he's interested in maybe, playing one more season to go try to win a Super Bowl, gives the Jets everything he has for a season to team up with a couple former coaches. I could see something like that happening. But of course, with, retirement on the table, I don't know how real it is in Lewan. Like, I can't speak to Lewan's desire to continue playing in the NFL at this point in time. Obviously, with Lyle and Hurst, these guys are on current NFL teams. If they get traded, they get traded. It is what it is. But Lewan, it does kind of feel like there has to be some convincing from the Jets' end. But who knows? Aaron Rodgers, took the pay cut. He's reached out to free agents trying to help recruit guys over to the Jets. Some guys it's worked, some guys it hasn't worked, like OBJ and Calais Campbell. But maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. I think the one thing that needs to be talked about, though, is moving forward, talked about amongst the Jets, like internally, moving forward, if we're still having issues, we got to make a move. I definitely feel confident in that regard, that something has to be done if nothing changes. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.